Hello, everyone. Welcome to this podcast. Today, we have a very special guest with us. We have Sehaj from Avantis, who is joining us here today to deep dive on, his journey, Avantify's journey, and the upcoming next solid things come. Welcome to this podcast, Sehaj.
Hey, thanks for having me, Pratik.
Awesome. So Sehaj, it's been an interesting journey for you guys. I think after a good amount of fundraising, you guys are, stepping into a big, couple of community rounds, and then hopefully, going big, this year. I think it's an exciting journey to watch from outside. But today, let's deep dive it. Before jumping on to Aventis, Sehaj, would love to understand, your Web3 background, and a part of that question is, what was that aha moment for you when you realized, okay, hey, this is where, I want to kickstart with Aventis, and this is where, things are going to shape up in that particular way.
hmm Yeah, yeah. I think to answer that question, I'll take the story back like 2 years before I started Avantis. So for context, I started Avantis in 2023 June, but I got into crypto in 2021 December. And I think most people were getting into crypto because of prices going up. That's how a lot of people get in, and then people stay because of like something they find or something to discover. And for me, I discovered a DeFi app called Aave. And I realized that all this ETH that I'm holding, I can actually get a yield on it, and anyone in the world can borrow it. And that was my aha moment like 4 years ago, and it's still my aha moment today. Um, so when I first joined Pantera, the goal was like, let's become a investor, let's dive deep into the space. And then in the back of my mind, I always knew that like I want to create an app too. I want to create something where a person can connect their wallet and like experience magic in like whatever way, shape, or form. Um, and to me, when I explored DeFi as a part of Pantera, like investing and researching, I realized that we're siloed out. We're completely siloed out from the real world, and there needs to be some primitive that allows you to express a view on something that is outside the world of like crypto native assets. And so for me, that aha moment came actually in 2021 via Aave. And then when I did my research at Pantera, I realized that we have to have the same aha moment for like real world assets, but on chain. So that's why I kind of started Avantis.
Amazing. I think coming from a investment and a research background, obviously, gives that lot of information, and probably narrows it down that hey, this is where we should be going, and this is where it looks interesting. I speak to a lot of founders, and the initial days of the founder's journey is always sort of difficult because you don't know whether this particular idea will really get big on, or if any big protocol comes in, or say tomorrow Coinbase launches into the similar segment, what
Yeah.
will happen first and stuff, right? So it's always that sort of tricky into the founder's mindset before going in. How was your mental model when you chose, okay, this is where the DeFi space, and this is like trade anything, sort of an idea that you want
hmm
to enter into? And did you do any backdrop number preparations, and what was the team strategy that hey, these were the first few users and communities that we're going to tap into, and this is how you guys are going to go into? Walk us through that.
Yeah. So the good thing about our GTM was that it was very organic. And so I pulled the trigger on like fully going into Avantis when the base ecosystem fund reached out to us and said that they want to invest. And to me, that was a big deal because I think from the very beginning, back when Base had not even launched, we were building on Base. And had this view that like in a world of like 25, 30, 50 L2s, Base will consolidate a lot of the EVM uh, capital and excitement because of their distribution. And I think that trigger to me gave me a lot of confidence that like as a founder, I can go build in this sector where there'll be a lot of capital coming in. And this capital is already off chain, or like it's semi off chain, meaning that these are Coinbase's customers who are not fully on chain, but they're also not like non-crypto exposed. They're exposed to crypto, they just don't know what to do with it, and they might come to Base. So I think that first uh, GTM confidence gave me a lot of like hope that I should now go into this full time because I have the backing of a chain that I believe in fully, and that matters a lot. Um, so to your question, like as a founder, there's multiple layers of uncertainty. this removed one layer for me. And then the second layer was that we are building in a space which has PMF in the sense that we know people like leverage. We know that leverage is a fundamental backbone of DeFi. It always will be. And our goal is to build something new in that space. And so, worst case, even if our thesis fails completely, that there's no demand for real world assets on chain because DJs just love crypto. We are also have crypto in the exchange, right? So we're hedged across those two fronts on a product and GTM lens. And that was my trigger to go in. And then after that, of course, we faced many more challenges, but at least you can then fully dive in and be confident that there's a fallback.
Got it. Makes sense. I think very practical advice, and what sort of steps and sort of market survey that needs to be done before going in. Let's jump into Avantis. Yes, I think I love the statement, right? I mean, it's like entire trade, anything you have like crypto, forex, commodities, currencies, and different sort of environments coming in all together. And I think the supply and demand side is also sort of very interesting on how institutional capital allocations has, and how retail uses it for different too. How was the product journey reshaped from the start? Was it more like, okay, let's enter the crypto forex first and then go on to next commodities, or from the day one you guys were very focused, okay, these are XYZ sort of different sectors that we would want to go ahead and explore around it? And sub part of that
Hmm.
question is probably, what is like, do you think will really pick up in terms of volumes? Like, this year is probably good, we're all cryptos and the same, but
Hmm.
a lot of these retail comes on ground. Can we see like forex, and can we see commodities volumes spike up? And what would be those ideal sort of platform scenarios?
Yeah. Yeah. So there's two questions there. One is like when we first started out, what did we think we want to focus on? And the other is like now in the future, where do we think the puck is going, which is always the million dollar question. But when we first started out, of course, we just wanted to have everything in one place and let traders dictate the demand. So our job was like build the tech, build out, the ability for a trader to take on a meaningful size in our platform for any of these assets. And then like just listen to our Discord community, listen to our Twitter community every day, talk to them every day, answer tickets, and understand what do they want. And so a lot of the early time in Avantis, the first 6 months went into like platform optimizations, just making sure things are working smoothly at scale. So like the first time we did like $100 million day was like in November when Trump got elected, and we were just so happy that our platform can handle it. We were doing like 10, 20 million volume before that. Um, Now we're back up to like again $100 million volume days, given the environment and given all the platform improvements. So in the early days, to answer your question, yeah, it was all about like offer a good enough set of basket of assets, so like maybe 15 to 20, and then let traders dictate demand and let us fix the platform for scale. Now we have like 70 plus assets, and we have like the ability to list 100 more in this coming year given our infra. And so now the question is like it's all about BD and marketing to get these traders on board. These are not crypto traders. People who trade forex and who trade crypto, there's a very small overlap actually. It's surprisingly low in our discovery. And so these people actually are folks internationally across the world who have to have very high barriers of entry into a traditional forex exchange, and people who have gotten scammed repeatedly. You're from India, so you should know that like how much FX scams go on in India on a day-to-day basis, right? Like people are just getting scammed out of their money. My own aunt got scammed in a forex scam. People promising insane returns and using like these fake platforms to simulate real money trading and tricking people into believing their portfolio is growing. And so if we stay on crypto Twitter only, then of course we'll see growth in crypto because Bitcoin is king. We've built a lot of cool products around Bitcoin on Avantis, but our goal is to like get out of that bubble and then kind of build platforms that international users can trust with social logins, with fiat on ramps. And hopefully over the coming years, with Coinbase entering India and like hopefully India opening up a bit more to crypto, there'll be a natural wave of people who start trusting the tech and then also being able to on ramp into USDC and all these different assets. Um, I know it's a long answer, but the short version is that short-term crypto, but our long-term view is let's get these off-chain traders on-chain without them even knowing.
Got it. Uh, say as jumping onto the the platform. I mean, I had a chance to interact it a couple of months back, and I think it's amazing sort of UI. I think everything is placed perfectly, and it is very intuitive, right? And I think the growth side also, I think you guys have tremendous amount of volume that you said you're generating. TVL is also decently decked up to move at a much higher pace, and I think you've got some good amount of community which is sticking around and trying to use it around. This question probably is from all lot of DeFi founders who generally aim in their first phases to do it, uh, because it's very hard. We know people are sticking towards the centralized platforms because of ease to on ramp off ramp the money and then get into it, and then obviously going into the hardcore decentralized way is always difficult.
Mhm.
Keys, sort of hacks, and you connect to anyone and then so it. So how is, like, for any founder planning to achieve such incredible numbers that you guys have managed to do?
Mhm.
What should be a couple of interesting points, particularly if they're building any DeFi product, and trying to grab more users, communities, slash other people.
Yeah, I think even if everyone building in crypto has a vision to extend their product outside of crypto. Who doesn't? Everyone does. Everyone's optimistic, everyone's bullish, um, everyone's hopeful. But I think the reality is that your GTM should always be focused on crypto natives because these are the guys who always provide support and are willing to test out high risk protocols with high risk capital. I think that's fundamentally important for you as a founder to get their feedback, to have them face to face, or like to have them in a Telegram giving you the hard truths that look, we are what most of DeFi's TVL is. Here's what we want. And that's generally like, here's what we want is like, we want money, or we want a way to make money, or we want some alpha, or we want to have fun. Ideally, it's everything in one, right? So when we design products, we first think, okay, we're building on base, we're building in DeFi. How do we attract the attention of the biggest, most important crypto Twitter whales? Um, and then using them, how do we bootstrap a product that can handle anyone, really? If you can handle like a whale trading like $2-3 million size in one go on your platform, you can I bet you can handle like someone from India who's trading like from their home genuinely, but just like $100 size, right? So it's a very good playground for any founder to really hone in on and then use those learnings to kind of go out. That would be, at least that's been my approach. I can't generalize it, but the reality is that you might be building for the masses, but you are building for crypto Twitter first, and then you want to use that to scale up and build for the masses. Without kind of crypto Twitter, Avantis would not be where it's at. Without this scale, we cannot go to like India and do GTM there.
Yeah, makes sense. Sayas, coming on the broader vision of Avantis, right? I think you mentioned, I mean, the current state of sort of where the platform is,
Yeah.
and the kind of volumes and everything that is generated. What is like 2025's vision roadmap for Avantis? Is it like multiply all the TVL, all the basically numbers, or is it much more deeper into it, or are you exploring more cross hybrid use cases where you feel more users can come in and platform can really explode?
Yeah. So the growth in metrics is not a roadmap, it's just KPIs that should hopefully result from a achievement of the roadmap. But the roadmap itself is like, look, we've built out Avatar V1. It's like one of the few exchanges in DeFi that focuses on cross-asset leverage, so real world asset and crypto. How do we use our learnings, which we have a lot of, to build the next best exchange that also focuses on cross-asset leverage and also opens up leverage to other primitives that are non asset related. So like real world markets, like sports and prediction markets and stuff like that. That requires a redesign and a rethinking. We have to now basically go back to the whiteboard and say, Avantis V1 1.5 works, but how do we scale this 10x to incorporate more markets, more price feeds, cross margin, 10x capital efficiency, lower trading latency. Just go back to the whiteboard and start again, right? So it'll be a little scary to do that in a way. Um, but it's mandatory because right now, if you want to scale Avantis to like 100 million in OI, we require like 50 million in TVL. But tomorrow with V2, we can do like a billion in OI with just let's say 50 million or 100 million in TVL. So that kind of capital efficiency requires like a lot of research work, a lot of groundwork. And that's our goal for 2025. Like just do a lot of groundwork on Avantis V2, which will be the world's first cross-margined perp exchange for RWAs and crypto, which has not been done before. So it's a very big challenge. Um, and after we do that, and after we scale again on this new exchange, and hopefully we do multiples of the volumes we've done before, then the thing is, let's introduce in 2026 new categories of markets that are non-cyclical. So like sports, for example, like betting on your favorite NBA team during a match with leverage. And just like you have a live stream going on, and then Avantis is the venue where you're doing this fun stuff. You're sitting with your friends and you're just betting with leverage that the Celtics will win over the Nets. Um, or betting on like, hey, like in the next election, like Donald Trump will win, but like with 5x leverage. You don't have that kind of money. You just get liquidated through time, and the platform takes that money from you. Those are very exciting things to us, and all of this is fully cross margin. So all of your bets, your macro bets, your crypto bets, your meme coin bets will be all in the same terminal, and your USD will be cross margin across all of them. So that's the next 2 year plan for us, at least right now. But when I even talk about it, it's like, wow, there's a lot to do. Um, but yeah, right now that's the next 2 year plan. The next 6 months plan is more like distribution. Let's get Avantis out there. We've built the product, it's built up completely, but let us get it to the right people in Asia, in India, and like that'll involve me doing a lot of basically traveling, BD, and like a lot of conferencing. So that's the near term sales and BD roadmap.
Amazing. I think the future roadmap looks like really, really great, and can't wait to see all this exciting use cases. With all this, sort of amazing factors, coming in and shining. So, yes, just a follow up question. You mentioned for some extreme, use cases. In the past 1 year, I think markets have, gone such a different tangential way.
Yeah.
Are there any strange requests from the community or users that, hey, why don't you list this, or we want to trade this? uh,
Yeah. So, I mean, we get like a spectrum of users who will say they want to trade some random meme coin with leverage. But then we look at the data and nobody's trading meme coins with leverage. People are trading the majors and people are trading the big altcoins. Um, and so we don't listen to those users because it's too risky for us to list something that does not have any volume and can be manipulated. That's on one side of the spectrum. And then on the RWA side, we get a lot of requests like, hey, can you list copper, or can you list like palladium or some exotic metal, which is traded in like the billions in the real world. It's still a little illiquid, but we can consider listing those. Um, and then we get requests for like long tail forex. So our Korean users will obviously want us to list KRW, which we just did. Our Brazilian users wanted us to list BRL, which we did. So those are easier requests because we already have the infra set up to list them. But outside of that, no, nothing like crazy like that. Just either it's super long tail forex or it's super long tail memes.
Got it. I think, yeah, in very, very interesting, sort of combinations can be tried out. And I think once the liquidity will be up, I mean, it's surely there, right? Like since last cycle, I think we're seeing like enormous, things coming up. I think it will be exciting, next couple of years to
Hmm.
see, where this is all heading. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just coming on to the fundraising journey, right? I think you guys have completed the first round and now moving on towards the next set of rounds, and then probably possibly token launch and stuff. Will get into action. Uh, how was the fundraising journey planned from the start of it? Because a lot of the founders typically when they start, they're always in that dilemma. How should we plan our fundraise? What should be that playbook? Do we need like a champion, someone to do it? So what's your general advice on such founders where they can correlate to Avantis story, and
Hmm.
probably gain some more knowledge out of it?
Yeah, for any founder that's listening to this, please reach out. Always happy to help. First of all, fellow founders. I know it's like a very daunting journey to raise capital and to even put yourself out there. It's very hard to do that, especially if you're not already in the ecosystem of VCs and like kind of connected to them in the Western ecosystem. So I think my only advice is, depending on your level of preparedness and your connections, I would really focus a lot on product and getting some initial traction from crypto Twitter before you even have a deck ready or think about fundraising. I think it's very important to get some, especially in today's day and age where communities don't care about like, are you backed by whatever, like they just care about what have you built. Um, and so my only advice is like build something, get some traction or some kind of PMF on it, or some validation at least from Twitter that this is working. And then it's much easier to raise with that kind of traction. Like if you just go pre-traction with an idea, you better already be a founder in the past, or you have just deep connections with VCs already. But if you're not in that pocket, you should definitely just build. In the age of AI, it's like, you can build things so much more quicker. And so you might as well spend your own money, or small angels money to just build something out for a couple of months before you go out and pitch to anyone. So that's the first part of it, like deciding when you want to go out and pitch, so your preparedness. And the second part is when you're ready, it's a different conversation because it should be a snowball effect with VCs. We should be lining up all conversations together, and then ideally you have some interest already going into those conversations. So that's a whole different conversation. We can talk about that. I just say reach out to me on Twitter or Telegram, and we can. Every situation is different, and we can talk about yours.
Got it. Thanks for the advice, Sayas. I think, yeah. See, I think a lot of founders just need that sort of motivation that it will be done through, and probably just correct on whether they're taking the right approach or not. Uh, you know,
Yes,
and I think honestly, our crypto industry is so much closely littered that I mean it's a small industry. It's not that very large. Uh, you
it's not
know,
that big. Yeah,
it's
it's
not
not
that
that
big.
big.
It's very like sort of, and people are more approachable, right? I think it's the general sort of thing. So it's exciting times for the founders as well, to do it. Yeah. So yes, coming on to the next part, I think let's talk bit about base, right? I think as you mentioned earlier, base reached out even before they started it out, and then they they have been supporting you from the day one. I mean, this question is probably from founders who want to build on base, and who want to see their journey, like how does this ecosystem look like, what sort of support do they give, how's the overall experience. If you could share some of your thoughts, that would be great.
Yeah, yeah. Hmm. So I'll start by saying that like ecosystem support is not contingent on an ecosystem investment. I'll start by saying that we've seen a lot of teams where they were not invested in by the ecosystem fund, but then ultimately ended up getting listed on Coinbase or just got a lot of marketing support from Base. So I think the way to stand out on Base is build something cool that doesn't exist on Base. Tag Jesse in your tweets and show him that you've built this. Um, and they are also actively investing. So they have an ecosystem fund. And so if you build something cool, Jesse's already retweeting it. Like you're in the cabal because of, that retweet. You already have a shot at like getting into the Coinbase ventures, um, echo rounds, or getting into kind of their own investments directly from their fund. And so if you want to build on base, I think build first, tag the relevant people from the ecosystem fund and Jesse. Um, I think just try to build something that doesn't exist. That would be my advice. And I will say their support has never been contingent on an investment. Just because we've had an investment doesn't give us any special treatment. I'll tell you that right now. For better or worse. That's what it is. And so build on base because we feel like the ecosystem's growing, you're bullish on Coinbase. Don't build on it for an investment or for that kind of support because that's not guaranteed. And even an investment does not guarantee support. Um, that's on the business side of things. On the tech side of things, of course, Base is trying to become faster. They're trying to launch Flash blocks, which will be a 10x improvement in latency, or 5 to 10x, let's see. Um, But I will say that EVM is still EVM fundamentally. It's not Solana yet, meaning that if you want sub cent or below fees, if you are building for a high frequency use case, but you need to be on chain, I would still say other chains can be explored. Don't rush into EVM just yet. Um, Also, if you're building consumer, like a lot of the consumer projects build on Solana because, again, same thing. No gas fees, no need to sponsor them either. No burn there, high frequency, high throughput apps can be built on Solana. So from our perspective as well, build a product that doesn't exist and take it to whichever chain has demand for it. Right now, that's Base, Arbitrum, Solana. So all three are fair game. Arbitrum's more DeFi focused, Base is more memes and like speculative mania and like lending focused, and then Solana is clearly land of the degens, right? Pump fun, perps as well with Drift. So it depends on your use case, but think very carefully on the GTM chain. Don't just base it off of an ecosystem investment. If you build something cool, investments won't be a problem.
Awesome. Thanks, Hayaz. I think it will be good advice for the founders who are looking forward, to build and get a expectation straight away. I think at the end, if the product works, I think everyone's here to support. Doesn't matter what. Cool. Coming on to the last question, Sayaz, imagine if you started out, building in this year, given the current regulations, given the current, sort of positive, Bitcoin just did an all-time high today again, sort of things. What would be those couple of ideas that you think can really play, well in these, in these markets?
Oh, you mean like altcoin trading ideas to be specific, like just crypto trading ideas?
Crypto trading, and it could be also like building, or like suppose you
Building
want to
as
build.
well.
Yeah, building as well. Yeah.
Building as well. Um, hmm. I think trading wise, like if you're holding an altcoin, you better be very sure and bullish on that altcoin journey because liquidity is very fragmented nowadays. So you have to have a very strong thesis on holding an altcoin today. You likely Bitcoin holding this Bitcoin will beat holding an altcoin. So I'll start by saying that there are things you shouldn't do in this market, and that might be one of them. Like just being ultra bullish and putting all your net worth in like just one altcoin. It worked in 2021. I think you have to be more diversified today to really benefit. Um, that said, there's pockets of extreme outperformance in specific altcoins. If you look at this cycle alone, um, Maple, for example, with private credit has taken off a lot. It's I think 3-4x from the bottom. In the last cycle, it was protocols like across. So not to say that like fundamentals are dead. They're not dead. In fact, they're back. But like you have to be very selective on the altcoin and the project and the team. So that's on like what not to do. Of course, I think if you're underexposed to Bitcoin, you should not be. You should be holding some Bitcoin for sure. Um, and then in the same way, if you're bullish on some other chains that haven't run up, even though Bitcoin's at all-time high. Solana is at 180, and the all-time high was I think 260. Correct me if I'm wrong, Pratik. But stuff like that seems like a clear arbitrage because Solana is clearly like still dominating in the non-EVM space and even across EVM. So ideas like that to me, I'm like, okay, I would invest spot here a little bit, and have like a barbell strategy of like Bitcoin and Solana barbell, and maybe like some alts on the side. Um, I also think like going back to like OG DeFi is very exciting. So for me personally, like hold some Aave because Aave has like now 20% of all TVL in DeFi, which is absolutely bonkers with no hacks. And the longer these altcoins stay in the market and their tech gets proven out, the stronger they get at a fundamental level, and still very very off from their all-time highs, and not sexy coins, the dino coins, but um every coin's time will come, right? When the market liquidity flows from Bitcoin to other assets. um I am very bullish on Base. Of course, I am biased as a founder, but I am levered long on like the ecosystem bet of Base, which is Aerodrome. I think, of course, a lot of room to grow. A lot of room to kind of, I mean, lot of fundamental innovations that happen on Base are tied to Aerodrome. For example, even if FX is coming on Base, like a lot of spot FX stable coins, like the Yorsi or like any of these other ones, they are being traded on Aerodrome. and then they're going into these lending markets on Moonwell. So there's like a lot of like flow from one protocol to another of every innovation. Like even if you're building like FX hedging, that'll help Aerodrome because somebody's buying spot on Aerodrome and then hedging on Avantis for incentives. So somebody might buy spot USC stable coin on Aerodrome and then like go short the Your USD pair on Avantis. So given that dynamic, I think it's good to like be long ecosystems and their tokens have who are you bullish on. And of course, I am bullish and I'm biased. That's on the trading idea side. Building wise, I mean, I'm a builder, so like giving all the alpha away is not the best thing I can do. But in today's world, like everything is open source. If you look at Alliance DAO, they have like an open source playbook of like, hey, a request for builders, an RFP, where you can just they give out like 20 ideas and you can build any of them. Um, at Avantis, also we are looking into, for example, like building AI agents that trade perps and can be configured by the user, and then you just let them auto trade and compete with each other. So building a social layer for perpetuals using AI agents is something we are looking into as a hackathon slash side project, but built using the Avantis SDK and the Avantis liquidity layer. So from our perspective, like of course, haven't dabbled much in AI, but really, really want to. And I think it's a must for any like new builder to consider the use of AI, like a meaningful use of AI in your applications. Um, so I'll take a pause there. Yeah.
Yeah. No, thanks for sharing ideas both on the trades and sort of these things. I think I mean it just gives sort of that stimulus to a lot of people who have recently joined, so they can understand how the thought process is there, how
Yep.
you guys are thinking, and how this thing is. So it's obviously very very helpful to a lot of these early folks who have come in. Great. Sehag, I think it was wonderful to, talk about your journey, Avantis, initial journey, the vision roadmap, and, all things on, how the journey has been spanned. I mean, it's just so good to see, from the passenger, sort of seat on how this protocol is growing. And so excited to see, how you guys roll out in this year and, probably upcoming next few years, more commodities, more sort of different assets getting listed, and people can
Yeah.
truly have that on chain command of getting things done. They're not stuck with any sort of a centralized entity and going truly on that. So I think it's exciting, and best wishes for you, your team, and the entire community forward. And yeah, looking forward to see all the updates.
Thanks so much, Pratik. Very heartfelt. I appreciate that. Thank you.